Well, okay, so this one specifically, there's two characters in the Bible that I'm going to focus on tonight, and then I want to discuss Jesus and what we see in his life together. But these two people, I want to focus on them because they're very, very different. The two people are Daniel and Samson.
Well, those are two very different people.
Two very, very different people.
Welcome to the Bible.
Welcome to the Bible. So there's two stories. So the whole Bible characters of Daniel and Samson, we're not going to go over the whole story, of course, but just one particular part of each of their stories. So to start, we'll start with Daniel. In the first chapter of the book of Daniel, there is a story about King Nebuchadnezzar defeating Israel, or defeating Bethlehem. Yeah. And he takes over, takes the Israelites captive, all this. And he says, I want to take the best of all the Israelites and take them for my personal guard. But only after, it was a certain amount of time that he wanted to see how they progress, and the strongest and the smartest and the biggest and all that, they would be his personal bodyguards, whatever. So King Nebuchadnezzar sent his eunuch to take care of all this and to oversee it. Anyway, the eunuch was like, okay, well, the king wants you all to eat the same meat that the king eats. He wants you to drink the same wine that the king drinks, and like everything that the king does, the best of the best. That's what was to be the case for all of these essentially slaves. And Daniel, as well as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, he tells the eunuch, he says, this goes against what I believe. This is I don't feel like that's good for me to put in my body. And he says, essentially, test me. You've got, I don't know, whatever, 9 years or something for this to go. Test me for the next 10 days, 9 days. I don't remember exactly, but
it was like a couple of weeks, wasn't it?
I think it was like a week and a half, but translations, I don't know. It was a short amount of time. And Daniel said to him, see how it progresses. I'll just eat vegetables, what I normally eat, no wine, just water and vegetables, whatever. And so after 2 weeks, of course, you guys have, I'm sure, heard the story. Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were the strongest and the brightest, and they were the most put together and all that. And so from there, the culture changed. What was healthy, what was good, what was making them strongest, they insisted that everyone did it because of these four. It's very interesting. We'll come back to that in a minute. But so switching over to the story of Samson. So in Samson, it's in Judges chapter 15 or 16, 16 or 17. Anyway, middle of Judges. The story of Samson is a fun. Have you guys studied the story of Samson?
It's cool.
It's cool, yes, but Samson is an idiot. Like, he's fully the most dumbest of all Bible. Anyway, heroes of faith and all that.
Football player-esque.
Yeah. That's great. Like anyway.
Big meathead is the word I think.
Meathead. That's yes. So this guy, but not only, there's more to it. We'll get into it. So Samson, we're starting with where he's about to get married. He's something, I didn't read this part. I've read it before, but I don't remember what it was about. But something happened. He didn't make his own wedding. He was supposed to get married. He didn't make it. He shows up later and is like, hey, where's my wife? We're supposed to be married. I think he was drunk, actually, now that I think about it. But maybe that's not true. I don't remember exactly. But so he shows up like a day or two or a week later, whatever it is. He's like, hey, where's my wife? We're supposed to be married right now. And he didn't go through the whole ceremony, but assumed. Anyway, so his fiance's dad was like, no, she's gone. She's with someone else. She got married to someone else, whatever, this whole thing. And he threw a fit. So much so. So I think his wife was a Philistine, and so, of course, as you guys know, Israelites and Philistines, fought constantly. So he went on a rampage and started killing all these Philistines and making a huge mess of things. So much so that the other Israelites took 3,000 Israelites and took Samson and handed him over to the Philistines. Chained him up and handed him to the Philistines, roped him up, tied him up. And they were so mad at him because the Philistines were torturing and beating the Israelites because of what Samson was doing. So anyway, they take Samson, hand him over to the Philistines, and the Philistines are intending to whoop him or whatever. I don't know, whatever, maybe kill him. I don't know. And he breaks the shackles, grabs a donkey's jawbone, and starts killing them, massacring all of these Philistines. It's crazy. With the donkey's jawbone. It's ridiculous. So,
Okay.
Shrek. Nice. So it's the most bizarre situation. And okay. So from these two stories, the one thing that I want to hone in on, really focus in on, in terms of the character of Christ, is conviction. We see a man here in Daniel who has significant conviction. He says, I am not going to defile myself by eating or drinking any of this. It's not good. It's not. God has given us these commandments for a reason, so we need to follow them. And so much so that his conviction not only changed the way people saw him, but it changed the world around him. Right? And then we go to a story of zero conviction. Everything Samson did was based on emotion, how he felt in the moment, what was, whatever, truly a meathead, but also an emotional wreck. All the time. If you guys want to go through these stories, you'll hate Samson. He's
He was pretty convicted of killing those Philistines.
Yes, but he was angry. He was emotional. It's crazy. So what we see in Samson's life is that he wasn't really interested in conviction. He didn't have anything that he held to. It wasn't anything that was important to him except for just what he wanted, what he felt. And so because of that, because of his selfishness and arrogance, there was nothing, people didn't want to be around him. People didn't want them in his life. Delilah, as you guys know, just tried to manipulate him to get what she wanted, but even then... Anyway, we see Daniel's life, and he changed the lives of those around him. He set the culture. And we see Samson, who had no conviction, who had no guiding light, none of that. And he was a nightmare of a person, and people just wanted to be rid of him. And the only reason that Samson is mentioned in the Bible is because of the gifts that he had, that God gave him. And he most of the time used the gifts to do what he wanted to do. Of course, he killed a ton of Philistines. And of course, his last act of heroism, all that. But so much of his life was just driven by emotion. And there was no principle, there was no conviction. And so that's what we're focused on tonight. Yes, sorry, I didn't go through my notes until just now. So, conviction. Let's talk about conviction. Not like you're in court and you get convicted of a crime, but a conviction in terms of inner conviction. What does that mean to you guys?
Your determination to stay true to something.
Good. Anybody else have any thoughts on that? It's kind of a weird word that's it's just something that you innately know, I think. You know what conviction is, but it's how do you explain that to someone else?
Most people know it in context, but not necessarily the word-for-word definition.
Right. So as I was thinking this through, conviction for me has two parts. Number one, to have an ideal, something that you recognize as truth or as important or whatever. And then number two, the stick to it, exactly. That's right. You have to have the strength of will and character to hold to what is important. I guarantee you, Samson knew. Samson had the first part of that. He knew the truth. He knew the law. He knew what was important, but he didn't follow it. He didn't have the second step of this. And that's, there's like the gumption to follow through is what makes a difference. So that's the teaching that I have. From here, and like I said a little bit ago, I want to go through and talk about Jesus, because this is all like we don't base our life based on Daniel or based on Samson. We base our life, and the character of Christ is about Christ. And so I brought up these two examples to show you a man with conviction and a man without conviction. And so I just want to talk about Jesus and what, like, there's no structure to this. Whatever you guys want to talk about in terms of Jesus' life, what did we see in Jesus' life? Examples of how he lived and the conviction that he showed.
I know for sure that when he was about 12 years old, he knew that he's supposed to send a message to people what God wants us, how he wanted to represent his Father.
Mm-hmm.
He knew it, how we supposed to live it true, to follow the rules, to follow 10 commandments, and what God wants for us. I think that's what Jesus came for. He was with it, he was following it, he wanted us to know.
That's good. Yeah. What else, guys? Give me some examples of where Jesus showed conviction.
Right before his death, when the devil was tempting him with all these things like, hey, bet you can't turn those rocks into bread. Actually, I bet you can. But he still didn't. He restrained his power.
Yeah. That's actually one of the ones I wrote down. And just like you said, he well, yeah, sorry, you I don't need to say anything. You're right. That's good. Yeah, what else? Or you can talk more about that. That's whatever.
When he was overturning the tables in the square.
Yeah, I was literally just thinking the same thing where with the first lesson about his character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he was upset that they had turned his temple into
Right.
this monstrosity, and he was convicted to keep it
Right.
true and to form.
And he braided a whip beforehand.
I just imagine him sitting on the stairs, angrily braiding his whip, and the disciples are like, "What are you doing?"
Well, he wouldn't have
Is that
done
a
it out
whip?
of anger, because then
Jesus,
it would
is
have been
that a whip? Why are you making a whip?
He would have been calmly.
Throw it in, work.
He would just be like knitting it, basically,
And
just
then
like,
I did
I'm going to use this.
They're
And
just
then he
joking.
just walks in and just
Yeah,
slams
we're
the
not-
table.
then I didn't understand that whole thing.
We were talking about the part of the Bible where they came to the temple and Jesus saw that
Yeah,
they had turned
I
everything.
got that. But when you were talking about,
Conviction.
yeah,
Yeah.
Oh.
So-
Yes.
I
Yeah.
don't know, I understood differently.
Yeah.
No, it's good. No, Jesus, he came and served a lot of different purposes, for sure. And the series that we're in and going through is Jesus is our example, and we want to model our life after what he does and what he did and the example he showed us. And
That's
so,
what I meant.
yes, absolutely. And that's exactly what he did, just like you said. He showed us how to live. So another one that stuck out to me, which probably is maybe the biggest time when he was tested, is whenever he was being crucified. He had to have this conviction: I'm not going to give up, because I know what the outcome of this is, essentially. But that was a big one for me. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to, if nobody else said it, I was going to say that. But also on the Mount of Olives before he prayed, or while he was praying,
Mhm.
not before necessarily, he did. And that was probably when his conviction would have been weakest, I suppose, because he kept repeatedly saying, like, if there's another way, can we do that instead? It was a very human moment for him.
Yeah. But even in that, he had his conviction.
But he did. He held
Yeah.
on to his conviction and pushed through it anyways and came to the cross, and that was the
Mhm.
yeah,
Absolutely.
where it showed through the most.
Yeah, I agree. So, unless you guys have any other stories you want to share, I'm just gonna be done early tonight. Sorry, guys. I mean, it's a simple message. It's a simple idea. So, week 1 of this series, we talked about words and the power of our words. And I kind of felt bad after I listened to it again, because it seemed like I was saying to not speak unless you have something important to say. And that wasn't what I was getting at. I felt bad because I feel like it almost felt like I was attacking Grant. That wasn't what I was doing.
Was he there?
What's that?
Was he there?
He was, yes. Yeah. Anyway, but the idea is about words is that they're powerful and to be intentional. And there's time to joke around and time to just be silly, but there's also time that's maybe not appropriate. So anyway, and then Grant talked about leadership last week, and then this week, conviction. So we'll just finish up with this. What do you guys have conviction for? And this is an important thing. Number one, about your faith and things like that, absolutely. But there's other things that we should have conviction for. And character isn't confined to our Christian walk or our relationship with Jesus. It's everything. It's universal. So, just my challenge is, as we're going through this series, I don't know how many more weeks we've got. I should lay that out, but be aware of number one, how you're speaking, who you're leading, and how you're leading. And as you live your life, do it with conviction. Know, hey, I want to follow the 10 Commandments. Okay, great. If you want to follow the 10 Commandments, do it and mean it, absolutely. Or if you want to be the best friend that you can be or the best employee that you can be, great. If that is a conviction that you have that is important to you, then follow it. Follow it deeply. But whatever your conviction, hold as hard to it as you possibly can, because, Jesus' conviction his purpose was his conviction. I'm here to revolutionize the Bible, to make the Old Testament whatever, and then become, he had this purpose, and because of his purpose, because of that, he had this conviction. And so, take some time and figure out what is your conviction. What is it that is so important to you, and fight for it.